Every now and then, I get comments about the aftermarket bracelets I have for the Aqua Terra 41, mostly asking for a comparison between the Uncle Strap's US1479 bracelets and the Forstner bullet bracelets, but I'll also include the Strapcode bracelets I have as well, as they're all a little different from each other when it comes to fit and finish. Now let's first take a look at the two most similar, being the Uncle Straps and Forstner. These two share similar design elements and bear a resemblance to some vintage Omega bracelets as well as the one found on the current Speedmaster Professional. In terms of appearance, they both look great and both do the Aqua Terra justice in maintaining that Omega theme, so I definitely prefer the look of these over your typical 5-link bracelets when it comes to Omega specifically. While they look very much alike, they have some differences when we take a closer look that could sway you either way. One of the most notable differences between the two is the shape of their polished intermediate links. The Forstner bullet bracelets has a flattened top surface, which then transitions into rounded ends, whereas the Uncle Strap's US1479 has a continuous rounded shape. I find this little detail makes those polished parts on the Forstner a little more noticeable, as they do create more angles for light to reflect off, but they aren't as cohesive as the ones found on the Uncle Straps, and won't match up as well with the polished parts of the end links. The polished segments on both Uncle Straps and Forstner bracelets will be stepped, so they are lower in height compared to their surrounding links, and I do like this a lot, as it emphasizes the shape and construction of the links themselves and makes them look a lot more dynamic. When we take a look at the side profile of the links, we can see they do offer different shapes. The Uncle Straps has a flatter base, similar to that of a Jubilee, whereas the Forstner takes a more rounded oval shape, giving a more beadier feeling. The Forstner bracelet also feels more fluid, as the articulation in the links is extremely good, giving way in either direction, but if we take a look at the Uncle Straps, it's a lot more limited due to the way the links are made. Now, while this may look bad when handling the bracelets, I don't notice any major comfort differences between the two when worn. Both will contour nicely, and the Uncle Straps bracelet does have enough articulation for it to not be an issue, so I wouldn't be too worried about how it initially feels in your hand. Both bracelets have solid milled clasps, with 5 points of micro adjustments on the Uncle Straps and 6 on the Forstner, so ample amounts on either one. But I'd say I do prefer the construction and look of the clasp on the Uncle Straps a lot more, as it does give more that Omega vintage look and is finished better. Now, in terms of the finishing of the bracelets as a whole, they're both executed well, so I can't say one is better than the other, but when it comes to build quality, I do think the Forstner slightly edges it out over the Uncle Straps. The articulation is already one thing the Forstner wins out on, but it also feels better during handling and has a more premium feeling to it. It also uses screws to attach the links compared to the Uncle Straps pushpins, and every link you see is in fact an individual component, unlike the links of the US1479. An advantage the Uncle Straps bracelet has over the Forstner, and one that is the most important to me, is the way it fits on the watch. The Uncle Straps bracelet is made for the Aqua Terra, whereas this Forstner bullet bracelet was originally made for the pre-2018 Seamaster Professional. What this means is the Uncle Straps bracelet will fit a lot better, with a more flush fit, while the Forstner bracelet will have some gaps in areas between the case and end links. Now, the Uncle Straps isn't a perfect fit, as it too will have some wiggle room, but it does sit a little higher to match the lug heights, and the gaps aren't nearly as bad as the ones found on the Forstner. If I were to choose between the two, I would personally go with the Uncle Straps. While it might not match the Forstner in build quality, it just fits a lot better and was made specifically for the watch. The differences in construction aren't anything crazy, and it's still a very well-made bracelet with excellent finishing. If the Forstner had a better fit, that would be the one I'd go with, but unfortunately, it just falls short and is better suited for the Seamaster. Now, how does Strapcode fare against these offerings? Well, surprisingly, very well. If you want a solid end-link aftermarket bracelet that fits good, the Strapcode will fit better than the Uncle Straps bracelet. But the thing about this bracelet is, it's not made for the Aqua Terra either. This was too originally made for the pre-2018 Seamaster, but for some reason, it fits incredibly well. Compared to the Uncle Straps and Forstner bracelets, this one has very little play and feels a lot more solid than either of the two. It sits even higher than the Uncle Straps bracelets, so it matches with the edge of the lugs more, and the center protruding link from the male end links add more height in the middle area between the lugs, balancing out the lighter lugs of the case nicely. There aren't as many gaps between the bracelet and case compared to the Uncle Straps or Forstner, and like the Forstner, it also uses screws to add or remove links. It's a great fitting bracelet, and was a surprising fit. However, I will say it's not nearly as refined as the Uncle Straps or Forstner. The design plays a part in this for sure, but the finishing is also a step below, and it's not executed to the same standard as the other two. The clasp is also very bulky in comparison and is noticeable, but it too is milled and features 6 points of micro adjustment. I also have the Asteroid bracelet from Strapcode, which fits just as well as the Super J Lewis, and this one brings back some of that lost refinement, as it is a lot slimmer than the former, with lower profile links. The clasp is also smaller on this one, because it has a more dramatic taper, but it's the same type of clasp used on the Super J Lewis, so it does retain some of the bulk. While the Asteroid bracelet looks great, I do prefer the Super J Lewis, as its curvy links suit the curvy and round nature of the Aqua Terra's case a lot more than the blocky structure of the Asteroid links. Between the Uncle Straps and the Strapcode Super J Lewis, I'd still go with the Uncle Straps bracelet. Yes, the Strapcode fits much better, but when I see this Jubilee design, I can't help but think of Rolex, which doesn't feel 100% right on an Omega watch. The Uncle Straps moves away from that, using a design that embodies that Omega look, and I find it more fitting for the watch. The finishing is also much nicer, which helps to elevate the watch as a whole, and it's simply the more comfortable bracelet. While it's not perfect, it's the aftermarket bracelet I'd go for if I had to only go with one. I think it's great that we even have companies like Uncle Straps, Forstner and Strapcode developing and manufacturing aftermarket bracelets for watches. There are a ton of straps out there, but bracelets can be hard to come by, especially ones that fit, and I hope to see them continue to make more bracelets for many more watches. Let me know which bracelet you like the most, and let me know if you know of any great fitting aftermarket bracelets for not just the Aqua Terra, but any other watch, as I'm sure many people out there would appreciate the insight. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more watch content. I'll see you in the next one.